A few months later. Winter had been long and cold, and spring was taking its time to arrive. Kachi had spent the entire winter hibernating at home just like a bear, and only rarely went out to breathe in a bit of damp and cold air he actually didn't really enjoy. He would hastily go back inside to snuggle up in some comfortable new place he had found in his home. But when the first signs of spring appeared and the flower beds started to blossom, Kachi began to live a normal life again, slowly coming out of his winter lethargy. He remembered his sister and hoped she was well, although he was pretty sure she must have spent a harsh time during the freezing months of the year. Now he had to hold the promise he had made to his mother and find her to take care of her. Here and there in the parks and gardens, mounds of muddy snow were slowly melting with the balmy spring temperatures. Joyfully, Kachi started wandering around these places which had been temporarily abandoned over the past months because of the cold weather. The sunbeams reflecting on his shiny fur made him feel happy. He stretched his whole body, ate a good meal, and went off to find his family. He decided to start paying a visit to his mother, who surely was in the square, as she hadn't left this place in years. "Hello, my dear son. You look healthy and I feel reassured for you. Have you seen your sister lately?" "No, I don't have any news from her. But if you see her, tell her to join me in a nearby house. It is a welcoming place with very nice people. Over the past months, they haven't stopped pampering, stroking, brushing and talking to me to entertain me. And to amuse them, I juggle with objects they throw at me. The atmosphere is so protective that I decided to postpone my return to my main home." The mother cat followed her son to check out this house, which, according to her offspring, was so charming. Kachi went home to eat and then slept for the rest of the day. The little escapade had totally exhausted him. Meanwhile, Mother Cat, who wanted to inform her daughter, had alerted all the neighbours who were passing on the message. When the cat came back, her mother shared the good news, and they went off to find the pleasant place Kachi had discovered. On their way, mother and daughter had an intriguing conversation. "Mummy, strange things are happening in my body and mind. Tell me what is going on, my dear. When I am close to someone, I feel his pain, wherever it is, and I am attracted by this sort of energy that makes the person suffer. So I come as close as possible to this energy. I settle a few minutes close to the body in pain, and I am invaded by a feeling of heat. Is it painful? No, it is rather soft. I find it even pleasant. What happens next? After a few minutes, I don't feel anything anymore, so I move away from the appeased body, and I peacefully fall asleep." The mother took a serious expression and fixed her daughter's eye. "My dear daughter, I must share with you a secret I have never told anyone, not even to your brothers. For the past generations, there is a gift handed down to a few of us in our family. You have certainly inherited by chance this precious power. But why me?" I wouldn't know how to answer. All I know is what has been told to me. Your grandmother cured people's illnesses. She relieved them from their pain, sometimes even without them realizing. How did she know she was doing them good? When I was little, my mother told me that one day a little boy came home from school screaming in pain. He was holding his bruised wrist. The boy was in tremendous pain and had certainly fallen on his way back from school. What happened next? Your grandmother, who was about your age, started to observe the little boy who was crying while his mother was soothing the wrist with some cream and a bandage. During the night, the boy was restless. His wound was still making him suffer, and he was probably feverish as beads of sweat were dripping from his forehead. Your grandmother, who had been observing the situation from her basket in the boy's bedroom, was very sad to see him suffer so much. I don't know why, but in the middle of the night, she decided to come closer to the boy to try to comfort him. She leapt onto the bed and instantly felt an incredible magnetism. She was positively attracted by this energy and gently settled on the sensitive part of the wrist, covering his hand and forearm with the soft part of her stomach. The little boy didn't wake up and progressively calmed down in the following minutes. She gently shut her eyes and remained in that position for a long while, wrapped in a feeling she found particularly pleasant. Suddenly, she heard the mother's footsteps. She was surely coming to check on her son's health. She told me that the lady became alarmed when she saw her there, as she thought she would certainly increase the pain of her son, who was going to wake up any minute. As she attempted to pick the animal up, a voice behind her cried out, "No, leave her there. There must be a reason why our son has not woken up." The mother, surprised, moved back, slightly alarmed by the situation. "But darling, look, the cat is pressing on the wound. It can only make things worse." "Don't worry," the husband said. "Go back to bed. Tomorrow we will see how our son is feeling. But for now, he is peacefully sleeping." The next morning, your grandmother had left the room, and when the little boy woke up, his mother was very surprised to notice that he had totally forgotten about the event of the day before. The medications he had taken in the evening had certainly been effective. The little boy hastily took his bandage off, and apart from a few red marks under the skin, he did not feel any pain anymore. So he joined his friends and happily played in the playground. All the animals of the neighborhood spoke of the event, and for some of them there was no doubt about it. Your grandmother had a gift, and she was nicknamed the Wizard Cat. But we will talk of all of this later if you want. Here we are. We have arrived, and it is here that your brother is waiting for you. Take care, sweetheart, and come and visit me regularly. While the parents were busy with their everyday life, the little girls were quietly playing in the lounge room lit up by the sun piercing through the bay windows. One of the girls cried out in surprise, "Quick, come and see, there is a cat in the middle of the garden." The family, who was curious, went to the window and stared at the cat, who was patiently waiting. But what was she waiting for? They didn't know. Where did she come from? Nobody knew. But everybody agreed that her fine features and curves and her elegant way of standing revealed that the cat was a female. She was facing the house and staring at every person who was looking at her. The girls immediately asked the parents if they could keep her, just like they did with Kachi. They gently opened the window so as not to scare her, and put a bowl full of food out. The little girls were very sure that the technique of serving food to a cat would make it stay. Kachi, who had woken up by the girls' agitation and excitement, looked up and immediately came out of his basket to go and meet the pretty foreigner. The two little mammals engaged in a curious and long discussion, which the girls and the parents observed intriguingly. Sitting close to one another, They stared at each other and exchanged a lot of winks and head movements, which probably meant they were nodding to what they were silently saying. There was no doubt that these cats knew each other, and indeed, it was Cutchy's sister who had joined him on her mother's advice. After having flaunted the merits of the place, he rolled in the dust in front of his sister. He was obviously pleased to see that she was alive. She glanced at the house, bounced over the hedge, and left instantly, without even tasting the meal that the girls had served on the terrace. Cutchy did not hesitate to gobble up the bowl of food served for his sister, and the next day he went off for a walk as usual. But for the first time, he did not come home. No more news of Cutchy. The girls cried regularly, as they were scared at what could have happened to their friend. The whole family looked for him, searching in every imaginable hedge, asking neighbours and other people living in the district, but nothing. Nobody had seen him, as if he had mysteriously volatilized. And everybody extrapolated over the event, which became the centre of all discussions. Everyone agreed to say that this sudden disappearance had something to do with this mysterious female cat. Who was she exactly? And where did she come from? Did she have anything to do with all the upheaval? The mystery around these two cats remained. End of the second episode.